if you could do a collaboration with anyone, who would it be? Okay, my top 3 collabs I wish I could do in descending order. Number 3. Coach Greg, and today a Q&A, and I gotta tell you, the questions were amazing. Very difficult to pick the best ones for me to answer. A lot of the questions surround about training, how to diet, what they should do, and so hopefully at least one of these questions will be beneficial for you. Davier Lim asks, besides fitness-related channels, what other YouTubers do you personally watch? Well, I would say the top 2 would be Andrew Huberman and Jordan Peterson. And I can remember people saying, you're the Jordan Peterson of fitness. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I hadn't watched him at the time, but the more I watched him, the more I could see I'm a lot like him. He's a very controversial and polarizing character, but what he says, it's based on facts. And I like to think that my channel is a lot like what he does. LVN asks, did Coach Greg ever dress up for Halloween? If so, was it Superman? If not Superman, what was it? Well, I've dressed up as Superman, the Incredible Hulk, SWAT, police officer, strippers, also a pimp to go along with Ali, and my favorite, Egon from the Ghostbusters. Bet you didn't guess that one. Lots of questions about motivation, but Mayhem Madness asks, how have you stayed motivated for so many years? How did you get through periods of time when you felt unmotivated to work out? Well, for me, I don't consider it to be motivation. Motivation, it won't always be there in the same way that some days your willpower will just let you down. And so for me, I consider it to be discipline. I'm highly disciplined in knowing what I need to do both in the short and long term in order to reach my goals. And so my advice, really think about how bad you want it. Whatever you want in life, whether it's a fitness goal, career goal, relationship goals, think, what do I want and what do I need to do to get there? That and that alone is what's going to get you out of bed and doing what you need to do in order to reach that goal that's way down the line. There are a ton of obstacles, things you're going to need to do for years to reach that goal. You're not always going to want to be motivated to stay up all night and cram for that exam or to do cardio, to put in the work. But you have to. If you really want to get that goal, you have to. Killjoy asks, hey coach, what are some things that teens, specifically 15 and 16-year-olds, should look out for? And what are some things that we should be doing in general that will help us in the future of bodybuilding? Well, teens should look out for bodybuilding becoming an obsession, thinking that that's the only thing that matters. If that happens, you could easily fall prey into developing body dysmorphia, an eating disorder, or the use of PEDs. And so what I think is truly important is to make it fun. Set tangible and realistic goals. For example, I'm going to compete in my first bodybuilding competition at the age of 18. I plan to compete at the nationals at the age of 20. Not, I want to win my pro card in my first show, or I'm going to maintain single-digit body fat. Set goals that you can achieve. And so my opinion, rather than reaching for the stars and landing on the moon if you're lucky, reach for the moon and land on the moon, and then if you want to go to the stars after that, well then plan for it. Gorav asks, what are your thoughts on people who achieve their goals or dream physique but get back to where they started from? It's way easier to get to your goal than it is to stay there. Think of it, you're highly motivated to get to your dream physique. Every week you see the changes in the mirror. You're thinking, wow, look how much better I look. Then you finally get there, and during this journey, the sacrifices are hard. You're starving, you have no energy, but you think, I'll keep pushing forward. Week after week, you're looking better. You get that dopamine every time you look in the mirror. But eventually, you get to your dream physique and realize this is hard. And you're no longer seeing any improvements. And so at this point, you think, what's the point? I've reached my goal, and now what? And so it's very easy to fall back into your old habits. Happens all the time. 95% of diets fail. And so my advice is, rather than aiming for your dream physique, halfway there. A realistic goal that you can achieve, one that you're not suffering, that you can maintain for the rest of your life. And so it's not that I want to discourage you from trying to reach your dream physique. It's just that I'd rather see you make short-term, reasonable goals. And once you achieve that, reassess. Do you really need to lose more weight? What's wrong with 15%? Do you really need 12? And if you're at 12, do you need 11, 10? There will come a point when enough is enough. Your body will tell you about this. And you need to tell yourself, it's okay. I don't need to be 5%. Yeah, I'd like to look that way, but in the grand scheme of things, who cares? There are so many goals, things you can strive to achieve that it doesn't have to all center around how visible are your abdominals. Michael M. asks, what were your aspirations growing up versus what you've accomplished so far? Well, in high school, my two main goals were I want to either be a dietitian or I want to be a physical education teacher. And after thinking it through, I thought, well, why not be a phys ed teacher, but study nutrition? And so that's what I did. I taught physical education, health, math, economics, special needs, taught everything. And fast forward 10 years, I basically do the same thing. I teach about health, fitness, diet, nutrition, except through a different medium, through YouTube. Anthony Fruzina asks, if you could do a collaboration with anyone, who would it be? Okay, my top 3 collabs I wish I could do in descending order. Number 3, Chris Bumstead. Would love to collab with Chris. Perhaps a workout video where we could talk and discuss training philosophies, goals, ambitions, and so on. Number 2, The Rock. It doesn't matter when, but I would love to collab with The Rock. I talk about him in so many videos, and obviously he's controversial. He's not natural. I'd love to ask him various questions, talk about training, and really get to the bottom of things with The Rock. And number 1, the guy that I've idolized for years, Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. When I look back at what got me into wanting to lift weights to have muscles, it has to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was the number 1 reason that I wanted to go to the gym, wanted to look like Arnold, have his amazing biceps, the chest, just absolutely idolized Arnold Schwarzenegger. Virgolis. Hey coach, if someone's been training for 2 years consistently, then completely stops for 2 years and decides to start training again, should he consider himself a beginner in the gym? Absolutely. If you've taken a 2-year layoff, you must start all over from scratch. You can't rejoin the gym and pick up where you left off. You have to completely start as a beginner. I would advise you to do a beginner training program, training your entire body perhaps 2 to 3 times a week, or at most doing a 2-day split, training in the gym 4 days a week. Any more than that, it's simply overtraining. Your body's not used to it. There's no reason to train more than this when you start out as a beginner. The only difference is you can most likely progress faster from beginner to intermediate training, and that you should expect to have even greater gains than that of a beginner due to muscle memory. Charles Duncan asks, what do you think about the 1-set rest pause method? I like the idea of training quickly, but I want to make sure I still get good results. I personally prefer doing a drop set or partial reps more than rest pause. And if you're looking to get your workout done more quickly, then why not just train like me? I go from one exercise to the next as a circuit. You take minimal rest, go from one machine to the next, which allows you to train harder than last time and in less time. Joe Kalu. Hey, Coach Greg, for a smaller waist, should we leave out crunches, sit-ups, etc. altogether? I like the thought of abs popping out when my body fat is low enough to let that happen, but I don't like the thought of a thick waist. Is there a good aesthetic balance between the two? The more you train your abs, the thicker your waist is going to be. It's inevitable. But training abs is not going to get your waist so thick that it's not going to look aesthetic. The reason some waists are thicker than others, it almost always boils down to genetics. And frankly, if you don't have great abs to start, training sit-ups, even if it's every single day, it's not going to make that much difference. And so my advice, if you want to do sit-ups, do them. If you don't, then you don't have to. If you're training with weights, doing compound movements, the abs, your core, most certainly are going to get trained. Personally, I've never really been a fan of training abdominals. I had amazing abdominals when I was younger, didn't really have to work on them. And so to me, this is something that really comes down to genetics. Were there any times when you failed to get the place you wanted to get in competition and felt disheartened? And how do you bounce back from that? Absolutely. A number of times, both in bodybuilding and in powerlifting. Diet and train for months to try and peak for a competition, and you don't get the place you thought. Perhaps it's politics or the judges didn't like you on that day. And in powerlifting, I'm literally bombed out in competition. Bench press wasn't straight enough. The pause, we didn't like it. Lift a weight 3 times in a row, and there goes your record. You bombed out. Also, you go to competition trying to qualify for worlds and you pull a muscle. Yeah, it's happened to me and it sucks. But what I've learned throughout the years is it only really hurts really bad for a few days. After that, you're often going to get over it. No matter what, win or lose, once it's over, it's over. Couple days later, you're going to be thinking, what's next? Even if you win the Mr. Freaking Olympia. Broke a world record, couple days, that was amazing. And then now what? Am I going to re-break that record? What am I going to try to do next? And so don't get discouraged. Remember, whether you win or lose, people don't really care. They only care that you're happy. And so if you did your best, you tried, you gave it your all, and you didn't come out on top, so what? Try again. It's okay. When I look back at my career and look at my best moments, it's not the day of the show that really mattered. It was the journey leading up to that. Oftentimes, the anticipation, the journey, the build up towards getting to that show was much more enjoyable than the actual show day. Jack X2654. I feel like I've hit a wall working out. The progress is very small and it's getting unmotivating seeing all my friends getting stronger than me as we've all been working out around the same time. What do you think I should do? And so for me, there's one of two main choices you have to make. One is you could take PDs. Then you'll re-experience the joy of making all these new gains yet again. But that will be short-lived. You're only going to be able to progress for so long. Eventually, it's just going to come a time when you can't make any gains. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I chose that option. When I couldn't get any more gains and I wanted to get them, I ended up taking PDs. Trained for over 20 years natural and said, well, not much I can do now. Took PDs, wanted to get a pro card. Hit another plateau, eventually realized you're not going to be the Mr. Olympia. You can't make gains forever. You can't continue to train into your 50s, 60s, and so on and continue to make gains. And so what you have to do is eventually have to say, is it worth it? Am I having fun? And my advice, find a different goal. Why is it so important that you're getting stronger all the time? Does it really matter if you can bench press 325 pounds versus 355 pounds? Really, does it matter? Does it really matter if your friends are stronger than you?
It doesn't matter!
But what you can do is switch your goals. You can still lift weights, you can still be healthy. Notice, Coach Greg, I'm 47 years old. You think I'm gonna set PRs forever? But what did I do? Set other goals, new fitness goals that were fun. And so what am I doing right now? Trying to set PRs on the bike. For watts, records, racing, doing different stuff. And guess what? It's a lot healthier than me trying to win a pro show to qualify for the Mr. Olympia. And so it's easy to say, stop comparing yourself to other people, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. Everyone knows that. Is that the advice you want me to say? Oh, don't compare yourself to other people. Boring. Anyone can say that. The real question is, are you going to take PDs or not? My advice, don't take PDs and find a different goal. Scott Needham. Should a 35-year-old beginner who wants to build maximum muscle start the same way as an 18-year-old beginner? What are your recommendations and where and how should I start when I want to build as much muscle as possible naturally and stay healthy? Beginner, 100%, full body, 3 days a week. That's all you need to do. Even if you only get 2, that's acceptable, but to me, 3 is optimal. Start very easy, never going to failure, leaving 5 to 10 reps in the tank. And if you're not sore a couple days later when you start working out, go a little bit harder, lift a little bit more weight. Take your time training harder than last time, which is to progressive overload, and simply build up from there. That's all you need to do. There's no reason to do a 3 or 4 day split, a bro split, or go crazy and train all the time. You're gonna build just as much muscle, taking your time, easing into it, and going by how you feel as in muscle soreness, as you will by training all out from day one. Ryan Palmer asks, Greg, I'm an exercise physiologist and I work in cardiac rehab. I'm only 23, so sometimes I feel like I'm still underqualified, like imposter syndrome. Any tips on how I can improve my confidence in my field that is so competitive? Here's my advice. Everyone feels like you do, and you are in fact underqualified. You're just starting out. You don't have any experience. You don't know what you're doing. But that's normal. That's how you should feel. And so you go in there knowing this, and you try to learn. Learn from everyone. Don't think you know along, and be willing to learn, to get better, to progress. When you first start out at anything, it is 100% normal and to be expected that you're not comfortable. And so you're feeling underqualified. I literally was underqualified. I didn't take university math to teach it, but yet I walked in and did my best. Asked other teachers, hey, how would you instruct this? And so don't think you know better. Don't act cocky and act like you have to be super confident. I'm the best at everything. I understand all this. No. And so knowing that other people feel exactly as you do, knowing that it's normal how you feel, that should give you all the confidence you need. And one day you'll be that older instructor helping someone your own age. And that's a wrap. Hope you learned something. Remember, the cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team. Get those, click the link in the description. And of course, the harder than last time supplement line, including the Seco bars, the protein bars, the G Shred, the G Stim, the 3 Test. There's so many supplements available. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Don't forget to watch the bloops. And until next time, I am out.